Thanks everyone. Hello Belgrade. My name is Valentin SIMONOV. I'm a field engineer in Unity Technologies. So I'm based in Moscow. I mainly work with clients in Russia and nearby countries. But as Oscar said, we got a booth right there. And if you have any questions, like technical questions for me and any other questions about Unity and stuff, you can come to us and talk to us. And also, I speak Russian, and I understand that it might be handy for people who had hard time learning English in school. Well, so here are my contacts. If you have any questions, just email me. Well, a few months ago, I came back from Unite Seattle. It's one of our main conferences. We have a few all over the world. The last time, if I'm not mistaken, it was in Australia a few weeks ago. Well, it was a great conference. We announced a few things there. We had a lot of technical talks about every possible aspect of Unity. So if you're interested in anything specifically, I would recommend you to go to YouTube and watch the videos you want. They're all available online. Well, thanks to you guys who use our technology, who trust us your games, we are growing. And last time I checked, we had more than 500 people all over the world. We have offices pretty much everywhere where talented people are. So we have a huge market share for third-party engines. We have a lot of developers and about 650,000 unique people using our editor tool per month. Well, so before talking about Unity 5, I want to say a few words about current release cycle, because we have a few changes there. Well, before that, we usually had about 2 major releases a year. So if you encountered a bug, even if we fix it, the fix would be in the next major release. So you would have to wait for a few months before that. Or you could be a part of the beta group, but you pretty much had to work on probably unstable software. Well, and we decided to change that. So as you might have noticed, we introduced patch releases. We shipped a few of them already, and they happen pretty often. So if you have a bug and we fix it, chances are that this fix will land in the next patch release. Well, here you can see a few of the latest ones. Unity 4.6, also known as Unity 4.5 with a UI feature. And I know some of you have been asking for it for a while. So if you don't know, we announced at Unite that Unity 4.6 is in open beta right now. So you can go there, download it, play with the new UI. And actually, a few days we shipped release candidate 1, so the release is pretty close. Well, today we will have a presentation about the new UI system. My colleague Andy Touch will be showing you how to integrate it into your game, and basically how to create a UI from the scratch. So I definitely recommend you to attend this session. Well, we're getting to Unity 5. Well, Unity 5 is really a major release. We've been working on it for a while. We have a lot of new stuff, a lot of bug fixes, a lot of improvements. So here's a shiny graph, like number of release notes per version. Keep in mind that some of the release notes might be like totally changed shading pipeline or introduced global illumination. So Unity 5 is a really huge step forward. Well, you probably know that for pre-order customers, you can download beta today and try to use it in your real project to try to convert your existing projects or build to WebGL, for example. Well, keep in mind that if I'm not mistaken, the pre-release ends tomorrow, so you still have 2 days to buy it. Well, in Unity 5, one of the key areas we focused at was the graphics quality. So we introduced a few systems which work together and make creating great visuals much easier. So the first system is physically based shading, which is a quite popular concept nowadays in game development. So it's it's basically a special shader and graphics texturing pipeline, which follow a few rules from the real world, like, for example, energy conservation, that a body cannot reflect more light than it gets. This is, for example, that specular highlights, the brighter they are, the smaller they get. Also that like all objects have Fresnel reflection at grazing angles. So a few rules from the real world, and following these rules makes creating materials which look like all the materials around us very easy and straightforward. So I mentioned this special shader. In Unity 5, we introduced what we call standard shader. So you might know that right now we have like different kinds of shaders, like diffuse shader, specular shader, diffuse bumped, self-illumination and stuff. So I know that sometimes it's a bit confusing for artists, like what shader do I choose? Like people usually tend to choose the shader which can do pretty much everything, but this means that a lot of resources are wasted for code, for features you do not use in a shader. So the new standard shader is modular in a sense that if, for example, you need a bump map for your material, you just drag a bump map onto a special slot, and code responsible for bump mapping will be included in the shader. So if you do not want that, you just remove the bump map, and the code will be stripped out from the shader. So you have just one shader, and you see here an example of a doll. All materials here are created using just one shader, different parameters, different textures. And you see that materials are very, very, very different. So of course, this shader respects all physically based stuff. Well, another thing we integrated, which is needed by pretty much all other systems, is native HDR workflow. So right now you can use HDR textures, you can import HDR textures, well, for like global illumination or skyboxes. The next big thing is global illumination. Well, I usually get questions like what this global illumination thing is. So it's quite simple. It is all about reflecting emitted photons. So global illumination is a direct illumination plus indirect illumination. So if you have a light in your scene and it illuminates an object, it's a direct illumination. But if you have, for example, like here, we have two walls, like one red one and one green one, and you see that the green and red color propagates to white spheres. So this is how real world works pretty much. Well, and indirect illumination and direct illumination combined makes your world like much more real than it used to be. So in Unity 5, we integrated the third-party middleware called Enlighten. It's a runtime for real-time GI. So usually global illumination is very, very hard. So you have to cheat somehow. So Enlighten pre-computes a lot of data to use. It's like the same we had for light mapping, for example. So you could have animated materials, you could have like animated lighting from skyboxes, but this is mostly for static geometry. So you have to pre-bake some data for static geometry you have, but it also works for dynamic geometry using light probes. Well, we also use Enlighten for light mapping. So we replace our current solution, which uses Beast for baking light maps, with Enlighten. And who worked with baking light maps a lot? Well, a few. You might know that it's quite painful process actually. Like you have all your lights and textures set up, then you press bake, and you wait a few hours, and you see that something is not quite right. So you change your setup, you press bake, you wait a few hours, and so on. So it's not very iterative process. Well, integrating Enlighten, we try to make it much easier and much more iterative. So right now, we do not have a bake button. Well, you can have, like, if you change something in the scene, like, everything which needs to be rebaked is rebaked in a background process. So you still can do something with the scene, and like right now, all static baked lights are just switched to dynamic lights. So you pretty much still see like where shadows will land, like what global illumination effect you will have, but like in a few moments you will get the baked light. Well, and I want to show you a video like, with a demo about global illumination from the guys who created Enlighten, Geometrics. So let's watch it.
Demo. This is Unity 5, preview version, running with all Lighten computer included Lighten. Enlighten replaces the existing Enlighten solution, and we support everything from baked to fully dynamic global illumination. The light here at the end of the corridor is completely baked. The light at this end of the corridor, which you can see faintly pulsing away, is completely dynamic. And we see nice bounce lights across the ceiling, but we also see the indirect specular effects as well. Enlighten generates light maps and cube maps, and we use this in a physics-based shading system on a mobile form factor. Here we have a nice little robot dude scanning the world, and his direct illumination, the element of it done by the GPU, is this blue points we're tracking around the screen. But we see this blue light also illuminates the rest of the room. We have a nice warm blue glow on the other side of the screen. But we also have blue reflection in the floor, and it tracks the lights around. Now, this kind of high-end lighting system has today only really been available for large budget console titles, and we're really very excited about the idea of this coming to Unity. So in this room, you can see that there's some nice flashing lights. These are actually done with emissive surfaces. It's very easy using a light to make surfaces glow. So we simply animate the emissive components of these lights, and we get a nice red glow around the ceiling, but also the red reflection in the floor. All through here, you can see the highlights of the lights in the floor. And through here, if I can get a door to open. It's a largely dark room, but the second we walk in, we see the lights spin up, and some nice, very shiny, nimbly things spin round and round and round. So we're really very excited that later this year we'll see Enlighten ship in Unity 5 and establish a kind of new standard for the quality of lighting graphics that we should see on mobile tablets and upwards, really, console, next-gen, everything.
So you can see what Enlighten global illumination can do even on mobile devices. which is really cool. So if you are interested in how this technology works, what you can do with it, you should find a video from Unite on our channel, and because it's like an hour talk, it would be hard to squeeze here, but you should definitely do that. So this is what we have right now, but this is just a beginning. So as I said, right now when you bake stuff, all lighting is switched to dynamic lighting. But we want to use excuse me, we want to use PowerVR path tracing technology to make the process more iterative. So it will be basically like probably you know like what path tracing is. It's like the process used in not real-time rendering, where we basically follow photons around and see what they hit and what color they bring to our eyes, to camera. So we wanted to integrate this in Unity while we are waiting for stuff to be baked, to see how it will look like, because baking still takes some time. We want to integrate API to control the baking process and to control what you can get from indirect illumination. We are working on transparency, and we are thinking how to make this baking process much easier, like offloading actual tasks to some whatever cluster machines or cloud. Well, this is one of the key features we have. Like we have a lot of features, and I just don't have enough time to talk about all of them. But I just chose some of them which I get the most amount of questions. So here we have a video with sound. This is our new sound system. So we completely changed our sound system. I'll just show you how it works, and like in the next slide, I'll tell you a bit more about it. So you can see we have a bunch of mixers which can be controlled, and it can have effects and stuff. So now it's much more easier to create effects like this with a grenade. Well, once again, there's a huge talk about new audio system at our channel and at YouTube. So basically, we wanted to create the new sound system, which is so powerful that you could build anything with it. So as you noticed, we have chains of audio mixers, like with all sounds with effects, so pre-post DSP effects. We can blend between what we call snapshots. For example, if you are in a room and you go somewhere outside, you blend between like room sound and outside sound with, I don't know, birds and stuff. So where the snapshot is just a state of all parameters in the mix. Well, we have duck volume effect, like the one you saw with a grenade. What's cool is that it is totally possible right now to write custom DSP effects. So we have an interface, and you can write whatever plugin you want or import some, I don't know, some plugin from existing software, and you can add an editor UI for it. To have one DLL for effect, one DLL for UI. So, and I don't know, you can publish it to Asset Store. The last cool feature is that you can route audio to external apps. For example, like you have some audio playing in Unity, and you have Ableton Live or some pure data patch, and you use it to process your audio data and give it back to Unity. So these are really great possibilities. So if right now we have audio sources and audio listeners, nothing in between, so in Unity 5 you can do pretty much everything. Well, we have more cool stuff like 64-bit editor. Well, we added a few bits, and we know that editing huge projects is a big pain actually. So now we have 64-bit editor, and you do not have to worry about in-editor memory anymore. Well, we updated physics to the new version, to the latest version, like, with a lot of new improvements and fixes. We have a totally new asset bundles workflow. So right now you can mark your assets as I want this asset to go to this bundle, I want to go to this asset to go to that bundle. Unity, please make asset bundles. So Unity knows all the, like where all the assets should go, and like dependencies between them, and builds or rebuilds if needed bundles for you. We have a lot of mechanism improvements like new blend trees, scripts on states. We have speed tree integration. Speed tree is a software which does one thing extremely well. It creates trees. So if you need any kind of trees in your project, like speed tree is the way to go. But we have more, and I just let you read them. So I just chose a few for big ones. So as I said, a lot of new features, a lot of fixes, a lot of improvements, and it would take a whole day to talk about all of them. We have more. So I think everyone can find something interesting for them, like if you're interested in graphics, if you're interested in sound, like mobile inputs, or whatever else, you will find it in our release notes. Well, the popular question is, like, can we use it right now for our project? The short answer is yes, of course. The long answer is actually it depends on what state your current project is in. Like if you're just starting a new project or you just started a new project, it makes absolutely no sense to use Unity 4 because you will have a hard time to upgrade to Unity 5. So if you're starting now, we have a beta, we have a pre-order. You can just download Unity 5 and use it. But if you're in the middle of development, it depends. Of course, the best solution would be to download Unity 5 and try to upgrade your project. So we did everything to make this experience as easy as possible, but you need to watch out for a few things. For example, we had a few API changes, but we have a script updater which is smart enough to change all the scripts for you, and even more, script updater changes compiled assembly IL code. So all assemblies you have, like from Asset Store or your own compiled code, will be updated to the new API too, except a few corner cases. Like the most popular corner case is when you have a get component with a string argument, but you use variables instead. So the script updater is not that smart to run a semantic analysis and find out what you meant by this variable. So these things you will have to fix yourself. We changed a lot in like nav mesh, occlusion culling, and lighting. So you will have to rebake everything. It's not a big deal, actually. Keep in mind that you will not be able to use 30-bit plugins in a 64-bit editor. Also, we have a few changes in shaders. So for standard shader, we increased the number of UV interpolators. So you might end up hitting the limits. So use target 3.0. So we, for example, also you now have to account for non-uniformly scaled mesh for effects like bump mapping and stuff. And we now use a HLSL compiler instead of CG compiler, and in some cases it's more picky to syntax. Well, as I said, there are a lot of physics changes. If your game is heavy physics-based and you ended up with manual physics patches here and there, like most likely your game will break, and you will have to read carefully how, what the physics changes are. And of course, for all the hackers in the audience who use Unity internal namespaces, some API changed there, and you will have to update it manually because script update doesn't touch them. Well, this was the stuff about Unity 5, but we have a lot more to show you and to tell you. Well, I went to our website to check out how many platforms we actually support, and I ended up with this. And the keyword here is over. That's apparently we do not know ourselves how many platforms we support. And indeed, if you think about browsers, for example, is each browser a platform, or is Facebook a platform, or VK or other social networks? Well, who knows what the eye icon at the right is? Like a few. Well, or others are just too shy. So the eye icon is Oculus. We really think that Oculus Rift actually is a great platform. Oculus now has Carmack, Airbrush, and billions of Facebook money. So I personally think that this is the next big thing. And we work with Oculus, and we partnered with them. We understand that most of the content produced for the Rift right now is made with Unity. So we made publishing to Oculus Rift totally free. So you can take the free version of Unity and use it to experiment with your virtual reality headset. Unlike before, it required some pro features, like render textures, for example. Well, but we also think about VR in general as a platform, like we have our mobile devices right now. So we want you to be able to specify that you want to publish on VR and use whatever device, whatever headset you have. So we want to abstract that. Also, we understand that for VR, a lot of specific optimizations have to be done. There have to be two cameras running at 60, 90 FPS. Some of the old tricks do not work, like bump mapping. So we internally work to make our engine the best solution to publish to VR. The next one is not actually new, it's consoles, but we also work closely with Microsoft and Sony. So right now, if you're a licensed platform developer, you can get free Unity Pro tools to develop for that platform. So if I'm not mistaken, the process is like you apply on Sony and Microsoft side, you get the license, and after that you can get free tools to use and to develop your game. The next, we partnered with Samsung, and we want to be able to publish to smart TVs. Unfortunately, I don't have any TV at home, no smart, nor stupid TV. So I cannot tell how cool it would be to publish to your TV, but I was told that it's the next big thing, so this you probably need to look at. We worked closely with Apple, and in Unity 5 we can publish to the new graphics API Metal, and it's as easy as everything in Unity, because everything is we do. Like you just press publish, you do not have to, you do not need to do anything for it. And your published game, it detects what device it runs on and chooses appropriate API like OpenGL ES or Metal for you. And I want to say that using Metal in some cases makes real difference, like your game runs really faster. So, if you're developing for iOS, you definitely should look into that. We partnered with Intel, and we now can publish to x86 Androids. I know there are a few devices there, so now we can use them. We also work with Google, and we will be able to publish on Android TV. And I see that you are getting a bit bored with all these platforms, like we have all this new platform. So this is the last one, but this is my favorite one. So WebGL. What we call WebGL is not really WebGL alone. It's everything which makes possible to publish to web into browsers. So it's JavaScript, of course, like audio API, WebSockets, and WebGL itself. So you can see there that there's an Internet Explorer icon, which is not quite there yet. I think it doesn't support something which we require, but I'm sure that the next version in the next operation system Microsoft is working for, everything will be fine. So WebGL is completely free with Unity 5. You can try and build your projects right now, and it's as easy as before. You just switch platform and you press the build button, and you get a WebGL project which you can try, but the best browser to use right now is Firefox. Well, at Unite we demonstrated Project Prime World Defenders by Naval. It's a tower defense game. It uses pretty much all Unity features, and it runs in Firefox 60 FPS on a decent machine. Well, and recently the guys from Alchemy Labs ported the game for the Awesome for Humble Mozilla Bundle. And they have this great post about their experience. You can find online, like what they've been working with us since early beta. So they pretty much wrote about their experience, like what they liked, what they didn't like. But anyway, this is a real game published with Unity 5, which uses WebGL. Well, and you probably have questions like how fast it is. Like if it's slow, it might be not usable for specific games. So this is a huge graph. Basically, what you should care about is if the blue line is small, it means that our WebGL solution is faster than native code which we produce from using the same experiment. And so you can see that there are a few big lines, which means that our WebGL solution runs actually slower than native code, but this is expected. And this is mostly in areas like physics, skinning, like all the stuff which requires threading or SIMD support, which unfortunately modern browsers are not there yet. They don't have threading or SIMD. But if we combine all the test results, like you can see that some of the test results are even faster than native. And this is crazy. This thing runs in JavaScript. And JavaScript used to be what used to change the colors of buttons in websites. So, and it can do this now. Well, if you average everything, you can see that the top bar is native speed, like the second is Firefox with SMGS, which is the best browser to use right now, and it's getting scarily close to native, and it's really cool. So you can publish right now very demanding games and have them run in a browser in WebGL. Well, and what made it all possible is our internal technology, which is called IL2CPP. It is basically a way to convert your C# code into JavaScript, or I mean into C++ code, and after that we use mscripton as everyone to convert to JavaScript. But so if you are a programmer, if you're a developer, and you are interested in these kinds of little small cool things, we have a huge talk at our YouTube channel from Unite about IL2CPP and about WebGL, which you should really check out. Well, so why IL2CPP is interesting beyond WebGL is that we managed to create this WebGL platform, which is crazy, like compile C++ and C# code into JavaScript. So pretty much now we can deal with any other platform you can throw at us. So it will make porting to new platforms much easier. We plan to use it on existing platforms, so the next platform should be iOS, if I'm not mistaken. Well, and conversion to C++ makes it possible to use a lot of native technologies for platforms. So you have a lot of native tools like compilers, debuggers, which have millions of man-years invested into them and generate really, really optimized code. Well, and before we get to questions, I want to say a few words about like our current model and where we are going. Well, right now we have all the tools for game development. Like you can take Unity and create a great game. But we all understand that when you create a game, this is the first mountain, you start dealing with stuff like monetizing, acquiring players, analytics. So it's a whole next mountain. So your problems actually never end, and we want to assist you here, like we are assisting you in game development. We want to assist you in what follows next. So we are working on a few services, and in this hall we will have talks about these services today. So I really recommend you to attend them and to listen what we are to offer. So I'll just briefly name them. So the first one is the Unity Cloud build. It allows you to build your games made with Unity in the cloud, as the title says. Well, and it's really easy to use. Like you have your Git repository, for example, and you update it. Like the service in the cloud sees this update, pulls the repository, pulls the changes, compiles, and sends you the link to the compiled project. And you just install it. Well, so the next one is Unity Ads, like the really great way to integrate video ads into your game. Whenever you want a player to watch an ad for something, like for a virtual currency or something like this. We have EveryPlay, which is a service which allows your players to record gameplay and share it online. And we recently acquired Playnomics, and it's now called Unity Analytics, and we are working into integrating it in our product. So as I said, today we'll have special sessions about these services, and this is pretty much all I wanted to say, and I hope that you have a lot of questions. So if you have questions, you can ask them now.
Well, great. Thank you, Valentin. That's fantastic. Let's give him a round of applause, guys. Thank you. So now is your chance. You have the guy here who's going to talk to you, and obviously I can talk about EveryPlay and ads and stuff like that. In fact, the next session is me doing that very thing, even showing Me coding. Anyway, so questions. Who's got questions about Unity 5? Come on, your burning issues must be out there. I mean, for me, this IL2CP thing, it's like magic. It's like, how on earth can you make JavaScript not be a dog? You know, not perform like something as slow as it. I can't quite get my head around how that works.
Well, this whole technology is really crazy. So if you think about, like, the process is like this. We have your C# or Unity code. We use monocompiler to compile it to an assembly. We use it assembly and use like a patcher tool, which updates code which cannot be used on this platform. You get the second assembly. We use a stripper tool, which strips unused code. We get the third assembly. We use the IL2CPP tool to convert this assembly to C++ code. And we use Mscripton to compile C++ code in JavaScript. And after that, some Node.js-based optimization, and you get this code running in your browser. So it's really crazy. It's like this long list of steps, and you get it in Firefox.
I just think that's amazing, and I think I've been very skeptical about the whole WebGL thing for a long time, and I think it takes that kind of tech, that kind of thinking, to make this kind of stuff really easy for the developers to deploy to then deliver. So I think we've got a really interesting future with that alone, let alone all the other stuff like the global illumination, which looks amazing. I remember Joachim was doing a live demo in Seattle on the way global illumination works, and this kind of Viking hut, and he was just doing some sliders, and suddenly this hut, you realized there were puddles, and you could actually almost feel the water was really there just by a few sliders. And I mean, this kind of thing, it must be putting a huge amount of power into the hands of artists, you know. And so is that really, I mean, my gut feeling is that that's one of the key things that Unity does, is it creates this ease of workflow for
right now
anyone
it's
who's
even
an
much
artist.
more easier. Like we have a few talks, we have a few talks available, and if you're interested in global illumination, you can watch them, like with all the shiny demos and the code and stuff. So it really makes the workflow much easier. And this is what I like about Unity, that you can take pretty much anyone, a person who doesn't know how to code, or a person or a coder who doesn't know how to make art, and they can, in a matter of I don't know, hours, create a game, and it's really easy. But of course, when you created a game, after that, you have to learn how to optimize it for different platforms, for iOS, for example. Like I work with the clients from around Russia, and usually the biggest problem for them is to optimize their content. So for example, they had a web project, and which usually runs on a laptop like this, which is pretty powerful. So they don't really think about optimizing it a lot, like to shader instructions and stuff. So, and when they publish to iOS, they have everything popping up in the face. So the battery time and overheating and stuff. So, like, it's easy to start, but it's hard to master.
I mean, for me, I'm not a coder or an artist. I'm a designer, and what I found fascinating by going on a journey to learn to use Unity was how much easier it is for me to explain what on earth I wanted to get out of a game, and I just make a prototype on my own. Very crude boxes, but just being able to do that and then showing a proper artist and a proper coder exactly what I wanted to get out of the game just saves huge amounts of time.
Yeah, and you have an asset store with a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can make my stuff look good with the asset store. I mean, my God, that's amazing. So, any questions? Last chance. Anyone got questions? Oh, we've got a question over here. Let me come over with a mic.
Yeah, hi. I just had a question about Metal and Unity 5. Somebody said that it works on Unity 4.7, but that's not correct, is it?
It's not correct.
So we have to wait for Unity 5.
You have to wait for Unity 5, but you don't really have to wait because it's available right now, sort of available. You can start development right now. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, just related to that, are there any major games on the App Store that are live now using Unity 5?
The question is how many the
Are,
game?
are there any games live on the App Store now using Unity 5? Any major games?
Yes, of course. Like I mentioned Prime World Defenders from Nival. If I'm not mistaken, it's the first game using Metal in Unity 5, like published in the App Store. Well, I'm not personally aware of others. Well, maybe I don't know. The latest Assassin's Creed should use it. I think, probably.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else for questions? Have you sat on this side of the room fallen asleep already? I need to wake you up. Okay. Oh, there's a question here. See, these guys are winning. You know, I'm keeping track for the rest of the day. So far, this side of the room's winning.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about mechanism features in like Unity 5. Like, will it be better integrated with other systems? You know, like the new audio system and others, because it's a good tool for non-programmers to like have some game-like behaviors. You know.
Well, our plan for Mechanim is actually to completely replace the animation system. So right now you have kind of two animation systems, like the old animation and the new animator components. Well, so we understand that the animation system as it was prior to Unity 4 is actually easier for some tasks, like play one animation. You need to create, like using Mechanim, you need to create states and this kind of stuff. But we are trying to make it as easy as possible. So even right now, to create all the components needed for Mechanim to work, like animator controller and states, you just drop animations from your model into the object, and it's created everything for you automatically. So we want to use Mechanim for everything. So it's not like it's only for character animation. So what you're asking is, yes, we are going to integrate it as tightly as possible to all possible systems and make it as easy as possible to use for non-programmers and artists. So basically, if you feel that something is not right, you should tell us about it, like on forums or this special feedback site we have. I forgot the URL. Oscar probably knows. Okay, nobody knows about this special feedback site.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, it's a really important thing that we're really wanting to talk and listen to you all the time as well. I mean, so, okay, I forget the URL, but there's so many places you can talk to us. Any more questions before we have a quick break? Anyone for a question? One here, good. Oh, the room is starting to balance up in the score stake. Remember that, you guys over here. If you don't ask questions, I'll be counting.
What's about new features for online and multiplayer?
For online multiplayer, we have a Unity networking system in the works. I'm not sure if it's part of 5 yet. Like some of it should be. We understand that the current networking solution we have is not what you want to have. Like a lot of people use Photon, for example, for networking. But we are working on our own solution. And
When?
So when? So I think the plan was to ship the first version with the 5.0. I need to check that. Well, the first version is actually pretty much what we have right now, like peer-to-peer communication. So the next step is to create a special server and enable you to use this server with the integrated networking for like with all the stuff needed for multiplayer gaming. So the next step is to use it in a cloud and something like this. So as I understand, like the second step should happen in the first part of the next year. So it's getting pretty close.
Thanks.
So, last chance. One more question. Anyone? This side of the room. Come on, guys. You must have a question burning away, no? In that case, I will thank you all. I want to thank Valentin very much for a fantastic presentation. I think we've learned a lot.